Modern city life is a marvel, a complex machine that runs on trust and technology. We live in towering structures of glass and steel, connected by a web of power lines, water pipes, and digital networks. Food arrives at our local stores as if by magic, delivered by trucks that travel hundreds of miles. We flip a switch and light floods the room. We turn a tap and clean water flows endlessly. This system works incredibly well, but its complexity is also its greatest weakness. It's a delicate balance, a house of cards that can tumble down with the slightest push. We have become so dependent on this fragile system that we've forgotten how to survive without it. The average city dweller is like a zoo animal, perfectly adapted to a controlled environment but utterly lost if the cage doors were to swing open. Our survival skills have been replaced by apps and delivery services. We rely on a steady power grid to charge our phones, keep our food cold, and power our lives. We trust that supermarkets will always be stocked, and that emergency services are just a phone call away. This dependency creates a massive vulnerability. When the systems we take for granted fail, the city transforms from a place of opportunity into a dangerous trap, and millions of people are caught unprepared, with no idea how to fend for themselves. Think about your daily routine. You wake up, check your phone, commute on public transport, and buy your lunch. Each step relies on countless other people and systems functioning perfectly. The train driver, the barista, the power plant operator, the farmer, they are all invisible parts of your survival network. This interconnectedness means that a single point of failure can have a domino effect. A major power outage, a transport strike, or a political crisis can quickly unravel the fabric of urban life, leaving you isolated and exposed. In the wild, you learn to rely on yourself and your immediate environment. In the city, we have outsourced our survival instincts. This is the great paradox of our time. We live in the most advanced and comfortable civilization in history, yet we may be the least resilient generation. Our ancestors knew how to find water, build a fire, and source food. We know how to order a pizza and navigate with GPS. When the digital world goes dark and the physical world becomes chaotic, these modern skills become useless. The key to surviving the coming challenges is to reclaim that lost knowledge, to understand the weaknesses of our urban environment, and to prepare our minds and our homes for the day the machine stops running. It's not about being paranoid, it's about being prepared. Meet Alex. Alex is just like you or me, an ordinary person living an ordinary life in a bustling metropolis. Alex works an office job, enjoys weekends with friends, and keeps up with the news on a smartphone. The city is a playground, a place of convenience and connection. The background noise of politics is just that, noise. Alex, like millions of others, assumed that no matter how heated the debates got, the fundamental rhythm of city life would never be broken. The election results were announced on a Tuesday evening, and the air in the city felt thick with tension, a silence that was louder than any noise. The news was divisive, a result that split the population down the middle. The chaos didn't start with a bang, but with a whisper that grew into a roar. It began with angry posts on social media, then small, scattered protests. Alex watched from the office window, seeing a few dozen people with signs turn into a few hundred. By evening, the crowds had swelled into the thousands, blocking major intersections. The police presence grew, sirens became the new soundtrack of the city, and the mood shifted from protest to confrontation. This is how it always starts. A single spark, a controversial event landing in the dry powder of a divided society. The friction builds until it ignites, and the city becomes the battlefield. Alex made it home that night feeling the unease in the pit of the stomach. The television and internet were ablaze with conflicting reports, each side blaming the other. The city authorities called for calm, but their words were lost in the digital storm of anger and fear. The next morning, the trains weren't running. Many shops were boarded up. The protests from the night before had left scars on the city. Smashed windows, burnt-out bins, and graffiti screaming messages of rage. This wasn't just a protest anymore, it was the beginning of a breakdown in public order. The invisible contract that holds a city together was tearing at the seams. The initial shock quickly gave way to a chilling realization. This wasn't going to blow over in a day or two. Alex looked at the small amount of food in the kitchen, the reliance on a functioning bank card, and the apartment on the 15th floor, and felt a deep sense of vulnerability. The city, once a symbol of security and opportunity, now felt like a cage. The skills needed for Alex's job were useless here. The real challenge had just begun. How to survive when the rules of civilization are suspended and the concrete jungle turns wild. Alex was no survival expert, just an ordinary person facing an extraordinary situation. Urban unrest isn't a single event. It's a process that evolves through distinct and increasingly dangerous phases. The first phase is the one Alex witnessed, spontaneous protest. It's loud, disruptive, and emotional, but often lacks central organization. The danger here is being in the wrong place at the wrong time, getting caught between angry crowds and jumpy law enforcement. But this phase is often just the opening act. If the situation isn't resolved, it escalates. The protests become more organized, angrier, and more violent. Opportunistic looters and criminal gangs begin to take advantage of the chaos, using the protests as cover for their own activities. The second phase is the crackdown. The authorities respond with overwhelming force to reclaim control. This is when technology becomes a weapon against the people. Drones with high-resolution cameras patrol the skies, mapping crowd movements and identifying individuals. Facial recognition software scans every face, cross-referencing it with government databases. Your smartphone, once a tool for communication, becomes a tracking device, its location data pinpointing you in a protest zone. Tear gas, sound cannons, and rubber bullets are deployed to disperse crowds. This isn't just about physical control, it's about psychological dominance, making people feel that they are always being watched. If the crackdown fails to quell the unrest, the situation can degrade into the third phase, a state of siege or martial law. Checkpoints spring up at key intersections, bridges, and city exits, manned by heavily armed soldiers. Curfews are imposed, and movement is severely restricted. The city becomes a prison. During this phase, new dangers emerge. With official supply chains broken, gangs and warlords may take control of entire neighborhoods, hoarding resources and ruling through fear. The police and military become another faction to avoid, as their orders may be to suppress any dissent with lethal force. Your biggest threat is no longer just the initial protesters, but the armed groups vying for control. Finally, the digital battlefield becomes as important as the physical one. Misinformation and propaganda are weaponized to sow confusion and division. Fake news reports spread panic, luring people into traps or turning neighbors against each other. Communication networks may be shut down entirely, plunging the city into an information blackout. Or, they can be manipulated, with false emergency alerts sent to phones to herd people into containment zones. Understanding these phases, from protest to technological crackdown to martial law and digital warfare, is the first step to navigating them. Your survival depends on knowing which phase you're in and adapting your strategy accordingly. In a city under surveillance, your greatest weapon is anonymity. You must become a gray man, someone who blends into the background so perfectly that they are never noticed. This starts with your appearance. Ditch any bright colors, unique clothing, or expensive brands that make you stand out. Your goal is to look plain, unremarkable, and slightly downtrodden, like everyone else who is struggling. A simple, dark-colored hoodie, worn-out jeans, and comfortable, common-looking shoes are your new uniform. Avoid military-style clothing or anything that suggests you are prepared, as this will draw unwanted attention from both authorities and desperate people. Your aim is to be forgettable. Next, you must erase your digital footprint. Your smartphone is a liability. It broadcasts your location, contains your personal data, and can be used to track you. The safest option is to turn it off, remove the battery if possible, and store it in a Faraday bag, a special pouch that blocks all electronic signals. You can make a simple one by wrapping your phone in several layers of aluminum foil. Only turn it on in short, deliberate bursts, when you absolutely need to communicate or gather information, and never in your primary shelter location. Avoid using public Wi-Fi networks, and be aware that every digital action leaves a trace. Invisibility is as much digital as it is physical. Movement is a critical skill. Learn to move like a local who belongs. Walk with a purpose, but not so fast that you look like you're fleeing. Don't make eye contact with authorities or aggressive groups, but remain aware of them through your peripheral vision. Stick to the shadows and use alleyways and smaller streets when possible, but avoid being completely isolated. Crowds can be your friend. They provide cover and make it harder for cameras or drones to single you out. The key is to move with the natural flow of people, like a fish in a school. Never move against the current, as it makes you an easy target. Finally, practice situational awareness at all times. This means constantly observing your surroundings without being obvious about it. Use reflective surfaces like shop windows to see what's behind you. Listen for changes in the city's sounds. The sudden absence of noise can be as alarming as sirens. Before entering a new street or building, pause for a moment to scan it. Is it too quiet? Are there signs of a recent conflict? Do people look tense? Becoming a ghost is not about hiding in a hole. It's about moving through the danger zone unseen, unheard, and unnoticed. It is a mindset of quiet observation and careful action. Your home is your castle, but in a city in chaos, it can quickly become a target for looters or desperate neighbors. Your first priority is to make it as secure and uninviting as possible. This is called hardening your location. Start with the most obvious entry points: doors and ground floor windows. Reinforce your main door with a heavy-duty deadbolt and a door jammer, a simple metal brace that wedges under the doorknob. For windows, apply security film. This transparent adhesive sheet won't stop a determined intruder, but it will hold the glass together when shattered, making entry much noisier and more difficult. The goal isn't to make your home impenetrable, but to make it a harder target than your neighbors. Next, you must manage your supplies with absolute secrecy. In a long-term crisis, food, water, and medical supplies are more valuable than gold. Do not stockpile them in one obvious place like the kitchen pantry. Instead, distribute them in hidden caches throughout your home. Think creatively. Hide canned goods inside hollowed-out furniture, in the back of closets behind false panels, or in waterproof containers inside your toilet tank. A bug-out bag, a backpack with 72 hours of essential supplies, should be kept separate and ready to go at a moment's notice. The golden rule is, if looters break in, they should leave with as little as possible, believing you have nothing of value. Maintaining a low profile is crucial. This means managing your light, sound, and smell. Cover your windows with thick black material to enforce a permanent blackout. Even a sliver of light at night can signal that someone is home. Be extremely quiet, especially after dark. Avoid loud conversations, music, or any noise that could travel. Cooking smells can also attract unwanted attention, so if you must cook, do it during the day when other city smells might mask it, and ensure you have good ventilation that doesn't blow directly onto the street. Your home should appear abandoned and empty from the outside. The less sign of life you give, the safer you will be. Finally, you need a plan for sanitation and waste. A breakdown in city services means no running water and no garbage collection. For a toilet, you can line your existing bowl with a heavy-duty trash bag and use cat litter or sawdust to control odor. Waste disposal is a major challenge. Accumulating trash outside your home is a clear sign of occupancy. You will need to store it securely in sealed bags in a designated, out-of-the-way area, like a bathtub or a sealed-off room. It's not pleasant, but managing waste is critical for preventing disease and maintaining the illusion that your shelter is unoccupied. A fortified home is a quiet, dark, and seemingly empty one. There may come a time when your home is no longer safe and your only option is to evacuate the city. This is one of the most dangerous decisions you will have to make, and it requires careful planning. Timing is everything. Leaving too early might be an overreaction, but leaving too late could be impossible. The ideal window to escape is often in the early stages of chaos, before major checkpoints and travel restrictions are in place. If you wait until martial law is declared, every road out of the city will be blocked. Your escape plan should be prepared long before you need it, with multiple routes and destinations mapped out. Choosing your mode of transport is critical. A car seems like the obvious choice, but it can be a death trap. Main roads will be jammed with traffic, blocked by authorities, or targeted by ambushes. A car makes you a big, slow-moving target and screams, "I have supplies and fuel." A better option for urban evacuation is a bicycle or a sturdy scooter. They allow you to navigate through gridlocked traffic, use smaller alleyways and paths, and move quietly. They don't require fuel and are less likely to draw attention. Your best bet is to travel light and fast. Your goal is to slip through the net, not to smash through it. Avoiding checkpoints is the primary challenge of any city escape. Do not try to go through them unless you have no other choice. Study maps of your city beforehand, and identify unconventional escape routes. These could be abandoned railway lines, utility corridors, large storm drains, or even riverbanks. These paths are less likely to be monitored. If you must approach a checkpoint, try to do so by blending in with a larger group of refugees, as there is safety in numbers. Have a simple, believable story ready. You are trying to get to a sick relative in a nearby town. Look scared and desperate, not confident and prepared. Never carry weapons or overt survival gear when attempting to pass. Once you are out of the main urban core, the journey is not over. The suburbs and surrounding countryside will have their own dangers. Avoid main highways and stick to smaller country roads. Travel primarily at dawn and dusk, using the low light for cover. The key is to think like an animal avoiding a predator. You must use the terrain to your advantage, moving from one point of cover to the next. Your escape is not a single sprint, but a series of careful, deliberate movements. Success is not reaching a destination quickly, it's reaching it alive. In modern urban unrest, you face threats far beyond sticks and stones. You need simple, practical ways to protect yourself from advanced crowd control weapons and other dangers. Tear gas is a common tool used by authorities. It attacks the eyes, nose, and throat, causing intense pain and panic. While a full gas mask is ideal, you can create a makeshift defense. Soak a bandana or a piece of cloth in apple cider vinegar or lemon juice and tie it tightly over your nose and mouth. The acid helps neutralize the alkaline chemicals in the gas. For your eyes, airtight swimming goggles are much better than nothing. The key is to stay calm, move away from the gas cloud, and get to fresh air. Fire is another constant danger, whether from accidents or deliberately set arson. Your home should have multiple fire extinguishers, and you need to know how to use them. In the streets, be aware of Molotov cocktails, glass bottles filled with flammable liquid. If you see one thrown, move away immediately. If you get flammable liquid on your clothes, do not run, as this fans the flames. You must stop, drop to the ground, and roll to smother the fire. Always identify 2 escape routes from any building you are in. Smoke is often more dangerous than the fire itself, so stay low to the ground where the air is cleaner if you have to move through a smoke-filled area. Digital dangers are invisible but just as threatening. Surveillance is everywhere. As mentioned before, a Faraday bag for your phone is essential, but you also need to protect your physical identity from cameras. A simple baseball cap and a non-medical face mask can obscure most of your facial features from both street-level and aerial surveillance. Wear loose-fitting clothes to disguise your body shape and gait. The goal is to break up your recognizable profile. Remember that drones can be equipped with thermal cameras that detect body heat. Hiding under a thick insulated space blanket can help mask your heat signature, especially if you are stationary. Finally, you need a basic understanding of self-defense. This isn't about winning a fight, it's about creating an opportunity to escape. Your best weapon is your brain and your feet. Avoid confrontation at all costs. If you are cornered, use everyday objects as improvised weapons. A rolled-up magazine can reinforce your fist, a pen can be used to strike vulnerable points, and a backpack can be used as a shield. The goal is to stun or distract your attacker for a few seconds, just long enough for you to run. Your best defense is always awareness and avoidance, but having a last resort plan can make all the difference. The most important survival tool you have is not a knife or a fire starter, it is your own mind. In a crisis, fear and panic are your deadliest enemies. They cloud your judgment, exhaust your energy, and lead to fatal mistakes. The key to mastering fear is to accept it, control your breathing, and focus on the immediate, manageable tasks in front of you. When you feel panic rising, stop. Take a deep breath in for 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds, and exhale for 4 seconds. Repeat this until your heart rate slows. This simple technique, called box breathing, forces your body and mind to calm down, allowing you to think clearly again. In a world filled with misinformation, your ability to think critically is paramount. Do not believe everything you hear, especially from social media or unofficial sources. Always question the source of information. Who is telling me this? Why are they telling me this? Can I verify it with another independent source? This process is called triangulation. If you hear a rumor that a certain area is safe or has supplies, wait for confirmation from a trusted source before you risk moving. Criminals and armed groups will use false information as bait to lure people into ambushes. Your skepticism is a shield. Survival is rarely a solo mission. Finding and building trust with a small, reliable group can dramatically increase your chances. But be extremely cautious about who you trust. Look for people who are calm, resourceful, and have useful skills. Avoid anyone who is overly aggressive, panicked, or seems untrustworthy. Trust is built slowly, through small, shared actions. Start by sharing information or making small trades. A good team can share the burden of standing watch, gathering resources, and providing security. A bad team member can betray you and take everything you have. Choose your allies with extreme care. Finally, you must maintain a positive mental attitude, even when things seem hopeless. Hope is a form of energy. It fuels your will to live. Celebrate small victories. Finding a clean source of water, securing your shelter for another night, making a helpful contact. Break down the overwhelming challenge of survival into small, daily goals. Today, my goal is to reinforce the back window. Tomorrow, my goal is to filter more water. This approach keeps you focused and prevents you from being paralyzed by the scale of the disaster. Your body can endure almost anything. It's your mind that you have to convince. If the initial chaos settles into a long-term breakdown of society, your survival strategy must shift from hiding to sustainable living. The first and most critical resource is water. The taps will have long run dry. You need to know how to find and purify water. Rainwater is your best bet. Set up collection systems using tarps and clean containers. Other sources like rivers or decorative ponds are contaminated. You must purify this water before drinking. The most reliable method is boiling it for at least 1 minute. If you can't make a fire, a portable water filter or purification tablets are essential parts of your long-term kit. Food will be the next great challenge. Any remaining grocery stores will have been looted clean within days. Foraging in an urban environment is possible but difficult. Edible weeds often grow in parks and abandoned lots, but you must be 100% certain of their identification. A better long-term strategy is to grow your own food, even in a small apartment. You can create a simple container garden on a balcony or near a window, growing high-yield crops like potatoes, beans, and leafy greens. Learning these basic horticultural skills now is a wise investment in your future security. Food is security, and growing your own gives you a measure of control. Power and communication will be luxuries. The grid will be down, so you need off-grid solutions. A small solar panel array capable of charging batteries and powering small devices is invaluable. It can run a shortwave radio, which is crucial for gathering information from outside the city when the internet and phone lines are dead. A hand-crank radio is an excellent backup. Learn to be comfortable without electricity. Use candles and oil lamps for light and adapt to the natural cycle of day and night. This reduces your profile and conserves precious resources for when they are truly needed. Ultimately, long-term survival depends on community. A lone individual is vulnerable. As the dust settles, small, trusted communities will form the basis of a new type of society. These groups will pool their skills. One person may be a medic, another a mechanic, another a gardener. They will establish systems for mutual defense and fair resource distribution. Building trust and proving your value to such a group is your best chance for long-term safety. The lesson of any collapse is that we survive together. The key is to be prepared, stay invisible when necessary, and remain calm. But the final chapter of survival is always written by the communities we build.